Picture this. Eyes glowing between the trunks, right at the edge of the known forest. Slavic tribes didn't retell this story just to be afraid of the dark. It was a warning with real, tangible consequences, a legal code hidden inside a monster. Here's the real question this video answers. Why would a tribe with no written laws and no permanent guard on every trail need Leshy and Baba Yaga? The honest answer starts with what the forest's edge actually meant to early Slavic tribes. Not just a line of trees, but the most fragile and most important border they had. Picture the tribe's territory through the eyes of those who lived there. A familiar forest with known trails, berry patches and hunting grounds, and beyond an invisible line, a foreign forest where a neighboring, possibly hostile clan's territory might begin. Picture that marking this line with posts or wall was impossible across miles of dense forest, so the border had to be held not by stone, but by fear. Picture Leshy not as a fairy tale character, but the tribe's actual border guard. Picture his power ending exactly where the forest ended, and that this is exactly why he led astray those who wandered too far, making them walk in circles, scrambling trails, swapping landmark trees around. Picture that this wasn't a spirit's random prank, it was punishment for a border violation that everyone in the tribe understood literally from childhood. Picture a specific case that was retold as something real, not a fairy tale. A hunter chased a wounded animal too far, past the line of familiar trails, into forest considered foreign. Picture how the forest around him suddenly became unfamiliar. The same looking trees, the same stream, but the path home seemed to vanish. He circled until dark, until he stumbled on an old landmark, a broken pine, that it turned out he'd already passed 3 times. Picture that the tribe took this not as an ordinary case of losing one's bearings, but as direct proof Leshy had caught him violating the border. Picture now Baba Yaga, a figure even deeper in the forest, at the very edge of the inhabited world. Picture her hut not as a fairy tale character's home, but as an actual checkpoint on the border between the world of the living and a world entirely foreign. Picture a traveler who wandered too far and arrived at this hut. According to legend, he first had to turn the hut to face him and its back to the forest, literally showing that he acknowledged the border and was asking to be let into foreign space by the rules. Picture the encounter itself as a kind of interrogation. Baba Yaga would ask the arrival why he was there, and everything depended on the answer: help and a way home, or death in a foreign forest. Picture that it worked almost like a court. Whoever violated the border with ill intent, malice, or greed was punished. Whoever came with respect and a valid reason could receive help, even gifts. This wasn't a random whim, it was a recognizable structure of justice, just wrapped in the shape of a monster. Picture also the practical side of all this, the side rarely noticed behind the scary tales. An unfamiliar forest is a real danger. Unknown animal trails, no known water sources, the risk of running into a hostile clan on its own territory. Picture that the myth of Leshy leading astray outsiders actually kept people from a real physical danger, getting lost in a forest where you had no familiar trails and no claim of your tribe's protection. Picture that this same fear solved one more problem, protecting the tribe's hunting grounds and berry patches from depletion. Picture the rule: don't go far, don't take more than you need, don't linger on foreign territory, and that this rule was followed not out of politeness, but out of real dread of what would happen to whoever broke it.
The ancient
Picture
spirits
how
are
new
watching
members
us.
of the tribe
They
were taught
speak
this
in the
from the
rustling
very
of
start,
leaves.
not through the
Respect
text of
the
a law,
border or
but through the
face their
story
wrath.
of Leshy and Baba Yaga
Remember the old
told by the
words.
fire. Picture that this worked better than any direct prohibition, because fear of the forest's edge was remembered for a lifetime, while a dry rule would be forgotten within a month. Picture also what happened to those who violated the border anyway and made it back. Picture neighbors looking at him differently, as someone the forest had marked, someone not to be fully trusted. Picture that this social distrust was a continuation of the same law. Even returning alive, a border violator paid a price within his own tribe. Here's what's worth sitting with. Leshy and Baba Yaga aren't a story about superstitious tribes afraid of the dark for no reason. This was a primitive but functioning judicial system, an invisible border, a monster acting as border guard, a monster acting as a judge, and a punishment everyone imagined so vividly that they preferred never to test whether it was real. So put it all together, and it turns out that fear of the forest held early Slavic tribes together, not through superstition, but through a genuinely working law. The forest's edge wasn't guarded by sentries or a wall, but by a monster everyone feared. And that's exactly why foreign hunting grounds, neighboring plans, and the tribe's own survival stayed untouched for decades.